Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming this afternoon for another open forum on realizing UB 2020. What I'd like to do today is describe to you where we were, what we've done, and what the new document is that was released last Friday. As you'll remember, at his State of the University address last fall, President Tripathi launched Realizing UB 2020. He recognized that we have a window of opportunity that is associated with an increase in revenue that's going to come to the university that was enabled by the New York SUNY 2020 legislation. That will, through the increase of tuition and fees, it will enable us to grow the faculty by 250, a similar growth in the number of staff. It'll allow us to reduce the student to faculty ratio to sort of norms in the AAU, median in the AAU. We're to move the medical school downtown, and we're to increase the amount of sort of economic activity that we have in the community and the impact that we're having in the community. Recognizing that this increase in revenue and the hiring was supposed to take place over 5 years, and we're already in our second year of that, the feeling was that we should go through an accelerated planning process to capture the concepts that were within all of the planning that went into UB 2020 and come up with a statement of institutional direction that we have now called Realizing UB 2020. So right after Satish gave his State of the University address in September, October, he delegated me to work in the process by which we would develop this statement of institutional direction, and that's what we've been doing for the past 7 months or so. Right before the end of the first semester, we came up with our first installation in Realizing UB 2020. It had a bunch of material in the front that explained why it was a window of opportunity and directions that we wanted, that we had to go due to obligations. It set a context for the world that we're now living in that has changed since the UB 2020 planning process took place, and it had 3 strategies with it. The first was an academic strategy, the key elements of which were themes and traits that we wanted to deliver to all of our students. And then there was a student success strategy, and there was a research strategy on how we were going to grow according to the goals that we had. The feedback process and the planning process that went into it got to be large. So my office was charged with coming up with the plan. I interacted with the cabinet and with the committee of deans and, of course, with Satish. Once we got it written, we got it out to the campus advisory committee who gave us feedback. And the campus advisory committee has members from the professional staff senate, the faculty senate, student consultation, and then John Thomas oversaw the faculty liaison committee that had representatives on it, one from each school. Bruce McComb chairs the campus advisory committee. The report was released. It was sent out to the campus. Everybody knew that this is what administrators do. Right before the holiday, you send out an important document, all right? And so we wanted feedback immediately, which we actually postponed till the end of April. And in that process of feedback, we had a huge amount of communication as a campus. This was a process that we, as a community, very much engaged in, that we have taken ownership, or my impression is that we have taken ownership of the statement of institutional direction that this document begins to embody. So the sort of response that we had 2,800 unique visitors to the website, we had 24,000 page views, we had 300 written messages, and I read all of them. We had 45 feedback sessions, and I must have been at 8 of them, and they were distributed in all schools, sometimes multiple feedback sessions per school. In these feedback sessions and the open forums that we had, about 1,500 faculty, staff, and students attended. And so there's a lot of exchange of information and thinking and sidebar discussions that took place about the document and the ideas that it contained. So what did we hear? This is sort of the high level, the undercurrent, the buzz that I began to pick up through all of the documents and all the conversations that took place. The first is that we are ambitious. We have enormous aspirations. We're a very ambitious research university. Secondly, we seek excellence. We have a good foundation. We are very strong, but we want to become exceptional. That's our aspiration. Then there was this understanding that we do exist in a competitive environment. The competitive environment is established by the changing demographics, where the number of students who are going to graduate in high school is going to drop 7 to 10% over the next 5 years. And we're in competition with other universities. It's increased competition from the fact that sequestration did happen, and there's been a reduction in federal research funds. It arises, the competitive atmosphere shows up because, in fact, the nation is beginning to ask for greater return for their investments they make in higher education. People are worried about the debt that they're taking on when they come to universities. They're worried about the jobs they get when they get out. The federal government is beginning to ask us to think about our educational program and whether or not we are actually delivering the learning outcomes that we claim we are doing. And we accepted that. And as a result, we think we want to address it. And that's what the document begins to be about. We also then I found, and this was very heartening to me, that UB is based in Western New York. We are deeply rooted in our geography, and the result is we want to be in a community that we're proud of. It isn't just UB as a community. We embrace the geographic region that we're in, and as a result, we want to build the community through critical partnerships. Emphasis here on critical, meaning they're going to be impactful. Partnerships, meaning that we aren't UB and go in and say, we're your B, we're your friend, we're going to solve your problems. It's UB going and going, we live here together with you. Here's some problems that we all share. Here's what we can do. What can you do? How can we work together? All right, but we have a desire to have an impact. We also believe deeply in scholarship. We are a research university. We're proud of it. We think that's essential to the education that we deliver and the impact that we have in the world around us. And therefore, we want to enhance our scholarship in order to meet our ambitions. We want to become thought leaders in even more areas than we already are thought leaders in. And we're trying to do this in an ever more competitive world. Finally, UB believes in education. We are an educational institution. We have core values and core concepts that we want to deliver to our students, and that should be built into our statement of institutional direction. So these are sort of the high-level thoughts that I drew from all the commentary that we got back. At a little bit more detailed level, as I said, one of the key areas that we were talking about were themes. That UB would articulate along the direction of themes, and these would influence the way we teach, the way we do scholarship, the way we hire, the way we engage with the outside world. This would lead to distinguish us from other universities. The concept got surprisingly a little pushback. Right? That basically it was a good idea. Now, what the themes were, oh my gosh, there was a huge amount of conversation about what the themes should be and what they should be called, and I'll tell you about the thought process that we went through. We changed them, and that's in the document that went out last Friday. There was a lot of feedback about the curriculum. How did themes feed into the curriculum? What were we thinking about as we were talking about changes in the curriculum? If we were going to be a place-based university, a residential university, we began to recognize that that meant that we had to have co-curricular activities. If you're going to come to UB, it isn't just what you get in the classroom, it's what happens outside of the classroom as well, and therefore co-curricular activities become important. There's a lot of conversation about focusing on learning outcomes, and pride. This is a theme that I hadn't picked up before, but there was a sense that we as an institution need to work on being more prouder of being at UB and being on this campus as a student or as a faculty member, or a staff. There's a lot of conversation about infrastructure, our physical infrastructure, the state of our buildings, how clean they are, how nice they are to live in, how nice they are to work in, and that we needed to think deeply about how we invested our funds in order to make sure we had an infrastructure that we were proud of. There was a lot of commentary about our involvement of alumni. The first document didn't speak to development. It didn't engage the alumni in a substantial way, and this was considered a problem, and we needed to fix it. All right, so that message was heard, and the document begins to speak to that, the one that was released last Friday. There was a lot of conversation about the community. If we are place-based, how are we going to engage? How are we going to partner with the community? The new document that comes out speaks explicitly about engagement with the community and engagement with the world. There's a lot of conversation and feedback that we had that UB needs to work on its public image. We need to figure out how to market ourselves better. We need to figure out how to get our story out, how to get the quality of the education and research programs that we have out to the outside world. There was a lot of conversation about that, and we've tried to capture that in the document as well. Finally, the document, it was written, if you'll remember, it had a long sort of preamble that gave background, and then it broke up into a series of questions about what we might want to do. And there were all sorts of questions and matrices, and it was very complicated. And it was 3 of 11 themes that we were going to come up with. And the feeling was that this was just impenetrable. All right? And we needed to fix it, that we needed to think about coming up with a shorter, more powerful message. And that's what we've done in the new document. We worked very hard to capture all of the thoughts and put them into 20 pages. And it's a pretty good read. Well, I thought so anyway. So, all right. So here's where it all starts. It starts with our institutional goals. There were institutional goals in the first document. They've been shortened and sharpened a little bit. These goals are important, because this is what we say as a community, what we, the faculty, we, the students, we, the staff, say we want UB to deliver. All right? And then we build the strategies, and this is what we're marching towards. So first, we want to be a leader in research, scholarship, and innovation. Next, we want to deliver superior teaching and learning experience that instills core values as well as deep disciplinary knowledge. Third, we want students to be proud of their experience here at UB. And fourth, we want to engage the outside community, and we want to do that both to help in the sense of partnering to solve large problems, but also to learn, meaning that we learn from the community and the community learns from the knowledge that is embodied in a great research university. All right, so that's the goals. Now we want to figure out how we're going to accomplish that. We start with themes. Themes, again, are an investigation of a major global challenge or a large area of scholarly inquiry. Right? That's what we think of as a theme. We'd like to see these themes articulated again into the way we teach, in the way we do research, in the way we engage the outside world. The themes will leverage the strategic strengths. There was a lot of conversation in the previous document about how we had all these strategic strengths. What's the difference between a strategic strength and a theme? Strategic strengths were established to capture and grow strength in different areas across the campus. UB has been successful at doing that. We are known for our strategic strengths, and we're strong in those areas. The strategic strengths are primarily focused around scholarship and the way we're going to do our research. Themes are much bigger than that. They are to, again, talk to the way we engage the community and the way we educate, as well as the way we do our scholarship. But they build on the foundation of the strategic strengths that we have. Embedded in the concept of themes and in the entire document is the concept that we need to work together to solve the world's large problems or look at large areas of scholarly inquiry. And that requires that we work in teams to address the challenges or explore large areas of scholarship. All right? And so these will be multidisciplinary. We want to have strong disciplines, okay? But we want the people in those disciplines to be able to work on themes, and out of that, we believe will come new modes of thought and new ways to solve the problems. And that's built into the concept of themes, and it permeates the rest of the document. We would like the themes to inform the general education program that we're going to develop here at UB, and we think that the themes should inform a focused, coordinated engagement agenda that we will talk to the rest of the world about, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, here are the themes. There were 4 themes in the original document. There are now 5. The 5 themes are health, innovation, justice, humanity, and the environment. Right. Now, in the previous document, there were 4, and we had creativity. And creativity was pilloried. Some people loved it, some people didn't like it. It didn't, for many of the community, it didn't have enough in it about making things. It didn't have enough in it about entrepreneurship. It didn't capture that. For another group, it didn't capture enough about behavioral aspects of society and scholarly inquiry. It didn't speak enough to culture and society. All right, so instead of having creativity, we have innovation. We have innovation because it speaks to making things and it speaks to entrepreneurship. Right? We also have humanity, and humanity is meant to capture behavior. It's meant to capture creative acts. It's meant to capture studies of the mind, the impact of technology on society, and the impact of society on technology. It's meant to talk about culture. It is not the humanities. It's about the study of what it means to be a human. Okay? Now, I had a lot of study groups on this particular topic. We had the concept. There are a lot of words in the document that try to capture what we mean by this area of humanity. At one point, we simply had the title that it was going to be about being. And that didn't work. It was too zen. Okay? It didn't work. But we would go around about what you would call this area of scholarship and education and engagement, around and come back to humanity each time. You'll note on the document that was sent out, it's stamped draft. It's stamped draft because even though things are now written in declarative sentences, we as a campus are still having a conversation about where we want to go. This is open for discussion. Please give me your feedback. Talk to the campus advisory committee. Talk to your faculty liaison that's in your school and get information back about whether or not this captures where we want to go. It's really important. It's important because this is going to capture the sort of education that we want to deliver. It's going to capture where we're going to put investments for research, for scholarship, for engagement, and for education. So this concept of themes is really important for us as we march forward, and so I look forward to the comments that you're going to have. The next core area of our academic strategy is in the area of educational outcomes we're looking from all of our students. And when I talk about all of our students, I mean undergraduate, graduate, and professional students. And the concept is that we as a faculty, we as an institution, think that these are 8 overarching traits that we would like our students to gain while they're here at UB. We're taking ownership of these, okay? And the 8 traits, they didn't change very much. There was a little bit of wordsmithing, but these are essentially the 8 that were in the original document. We think our students should gain deep domain knowledge and critical thinking. They should have the ability to collaborate in teams on complex problems. They should have an appreciation of many cultures, and they should have an appreciation of different life experiences. They should have the ability to navigate the world. Our students should have excellent communication, information, and digital literacy skills. Our students should have resilience and perseverance. They should have the desire to engage in community affairs, and they should have pride in UB and have a lifelong engagement with UB. Okay, now these are important because I'm going to ask each program to tell me how they deliver these traits to their students. Okay, we could be missing things. I need to know about that. Maybe we don't want to deliver these, okay? Or maybe we need to reword them. I need to get that information back. These are the traits that I'm going to challenge each degree program to tell me how we're delivering those into the system, and if we aren't doing it the way we think we should, how we might change. Okay, so after those overarching sort of concepts of themes and traits we'd like to deliver to our students, the question is, all right, how am I going to do that? And we had these 5 areas that we came up with. These are sections in the document that went out last Friday. We have a section on building faculty strength, how to build excellence in research, scholarship, and economic development, how we're going to do curricular innovation and build student success, what we're going to do with engagement, and how we're going to build an infrastructure that will support all of these activities in the above section. Okay, now let's talk about building faculty strength. I'm going to go through each one of those. How are we going to build faculty strength? Well, the concept that is built into the document is that first, if you're going to build faculty strength, you have to know where you are. You have to know where you're going. All right, so the first thing that I would like us all to think about is, come the end of the semester, a memo goes out asking all programs, all right, all the way down there at the department level or the program level, to assess our current faculty strengths. And these are, what are we good at, what aren't we good at? But it isn't just scholarship. What I'm asking is also, what expectations do we hold ourselves to? What are the expectations for scholarship? What are the expectations for teaching loads? What are the expectations for engagement? What are the expectations for leadership in growing the institution? All Right? I can't own those. Those are owned by the faculty, and they are very discipline specific. All right? So we need each unit to think about what do we hold ourselves accountable for? And we do hold ourselves accountable, and it happens all the time when we do promotion from assistant to associate professor when we give tenure. So all we're asking for is for us to think about what are those standards to which we want to be accountable for, and let's talk about them. Let's write them down, and let's hold a comparison with different national standards at the disciplinary level, and let's understand what is UB's definition of excellence. And then let's hold ourselves accountable for that. Now, the reason that we want to start with assessing where we're going has to do with faculty evaluation, compensation, and incentives. Right now, the UUP has negotiated a contract with the state that will give increases in pay of 0.002%, 2% over the next 5 years. All right? Ooh, and you have to pay more for health care. That's a cut in pay. Okay? Now, when I hire assistant professors, they come in at the low end of the wage scale. Our goal is to have them retire after having raised a family and educated their kids and be able to retire, right? So I have to grow their salaries. How am I going to do that when the pay, the amount of money coming from the state, goes up 0.00022? I need a different mechanism for doing that. We are proposing, it's proposed in the document, that we'll come up with a merit pay system. This merit pay system will be based on assessing faculty strengths and performance standards. All right? The concept is that we will have faculty who voluntarily say, okay, I'm going to put myself in to be evaluated, and the outcome could be that pay goes up. Okay? No guarantees because it's based on merit. Okay? And we have to develop that merit system. The concept that I'm working on is we have a turnover of faculty each year. In principle, they're all at full professor level. You could return assistant professor salaries back to the unit, and the delta goes to give step increases so that people can move up and increase their salaries. Okay? So that's the concept we're working on. Has to be debated, has to be thought about. Do we, as an institution, want to do it? It is mentioned in the document. I'll just pause here and say that we would like to talk about building the same system for the professional staff. Right, so this isn't just faculty, it's for the professional staff as well. Now, when we hire faculty, listen, folks, that is a huge investment. We want all of our faculty to be successful. Right? We've invested in those faculty and those very bright minds. We want everybody to be successful. In order to make that happen, we're talking about building an expanded mentorship program, recognizing talent, encouraging talent, figuring out how to make it go forward. We'd like to talk about lifelong performance reviews so that mentors are able to talk about, well, how are you doing? How could you do better? Oh, you're doing great. Or feed into the merit pay system. And then the question is asked, again, in this document, do we, as an institution, wish to alter the criteria for promotion and tenure? Would we think about giving tenure for teaching and clinical faculty? When I float this with the deans, oh my goodness, do I get polarization? There is tremendous polarization. There are those that go, oh my God, that's an anathema, you couldn't possibly do that, you'll destroy the university, and that isn't our tradition, and those aren't our standards of excellence. And then you get this totally different view, which is, we educate, we are educators, we're proud of being educators, we ought to promote for those faculty that are extraordinary educators. I get both sides. I need feedback on that. We as a campus need to talk about this in a profound way. Another example of where this question comes in is we have in the College of Arts and Sciences 250 adjunct faculty, all right, or adjunct faculty. And these faculty are teaching primarily in the communications, the sort of writing core, and deliver a huge number of credit hours, huge number of credit hours. Okay, well, those are our students. We have aspirations of delivering extraordinary education, and yet we have faculty that are teaching our students, dedicated or not, they aren't long-term because that's the nature of the contract. Is that what we want? Is that the model that we believe is valuable for our campus? Should we invest in coming up with permanent lines so that those faculty, clinical teaching, tenured or not, actually have a dedication to the institution, a loyalty to the institution, and can build their careers here? And as a result, they're able to think about and help us develop extraordinarily high quality programs? So let's talk about that. There are financial implications. I invest in that. I don't invest in other places. But what is it that we value and where we want to take the institution? What is our definition of excellence? All right, this isn't the provost who can drive this down. Tenure is owned by the faculty. It is the standards that are set at the department level. Okay? So we as a faculty own those. What are our measures of excellence, and what is it that we want to have that defines the quality that is UB? That's the question that I'm asking here. We think it's very important that we enhance faculty diversity. We believe deeply that we should reflect the population that we're educating. We need diverse points of view, diverse forms of scholarship, and therefore we're working on how to enhance the diversity of the faculty. Finally, the document is based on the fact that we do want to add 250 additional faculty members over the next 5 years, 5 to 7 years. We're currently at about 1,200 faculty, so we'd like to go to 1,450. We have to, in that same time frame, we'll hire another 250 just in the normal makeup. So over the next 5 to 7 years, we would like to hire 500 faculty members. We have to think about how we're going to do that. That's a lot of new faculty. All right, different forms. Do we need to do cluster hires? How are we going to hire in themes? What are the mechanisms we're going to use to ramp up, go to 1,400, and then drop back down to steady state hiring of 50 or 60 faculty members? Right? That's the debate we need to have, and it's the debate that I'm launching with the deans and the leadership, and we need input on how we can do that. Okay, research, scholarship, and economic development. Again, the core to this document, built into this document, is this concept of cross-disciplinary teams. We believe that we will make progress, we will have large impact by working on teams. And if you're going to work in cross-disciplinary teams, you have to have a strong disciplinary foundation. Therefore, we want very strong disciplines, and we want the people in those disciplines to be interested and excited by working in teams, and we think that this process will lead to new modes of thought and make us thought leaders and deliver greater impact in our scholarship, our research, and our engagement, and our education. All right? We think that we need to have stronger PhD programs. The document talks about methods that we can talk about doing that. A lot of that revolves around increasing the TA and RA stipends. We talk about an expanded focus on innovation. Right? This is because of obligations that are coming to us from the outside and because of desires of the faculty to have more of an economic development impact. One of the ideas that's floated in the document are the innovation scholars. Innovation scholars, the thought is that you would identify an area that would be of importance to the region, something that was in alignment with the Western New York Regional Economic Development Council. And you would hire an individual in that and build a team around it where they can do research within the university with the purpose of beginning to push technologies out into the marketplace so they can go into the private sector and enhance the economy of the region. All right. Curricular innovation, student success. We're interested in educational excellence in all of the programs that we have. We have a series of initiatives that we talk about in the document that talk first about the revamping the general education program. There was a Senate committee that was put together a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, came up with a report about a year ago that talks about the need for us to change our general education core. We've now relaunched a committee to look at general education, and now the concept is to capture the themes that we're looking at and to capture other experiences in general education for our students. Interprofessional core. This is being pioneered by the health sciences. The health sciences are beginning to be required by their accreditors to be able to work in teams. So the nurses can work with the doctors, can work with the dentists, can work with the social workers and the other health professionals. Okay? And this has to be built into their curriculum. We're finding that that same concept makes a lot of sense for all of our professional degrees. And that management ought to work in that, and law ought to work together, that these engineers ought to be working with the physicians and the lawyers. Right? So the question is, how could we build an interprofessional education core in all of our professional programs? All right, so the third key element now is universal learning experiences. These would be for all students, graduate students, professional students, undergraduates. we are proposing, it's now written as a declarative statement, that all students should have an experiential learning component to their degree. Now, what we mean by experiential learning is something outside the classroom, someplace where they are able to think about how the skills they're gaining can be applied outside in the world, outside of the classroom. You don't want me as the provost telling you what it should be in a particular curriculum. Right? That, again, has to be owned by the faculty. What we're saying here is that we as a faculty, we at UB believe that we will deliver a higher quality education if all of our students have an experiential learning component. But that's what we're claiming, that we own that. We will change what we do. We will change our curricula so all of our students have that. It turns out that's a huge commitment. If you think about it in sort of standard internships, that would be 2,500 internships a semester. Wow, that's just a huge number. All right? I joke and say to people that I can take over countries with a smaller army than that. All right? I mean, but the management of that, building the infrastructure that will allow us to create opportunities like that for our students, it's a large endeavor. And it will change. This isn't just on the growth of money that we're getting. This will change what those of us who are here are currently doing. If we say, we believe in this, this is what we want to do. The second piece that the document says should be universal learning requirements is that all students should have a global experience. Everybody goes, oh my gosh, you can't do that. You can't send 2,500 students a year to Peking. You know, we just don't have the money for that. It doesn't have to be that. Again, it has to fit within the discipline. It has to fit within the sequence of courses. The faculty get to define what we mean by international experience, a global experience. It could be done right here at UB. We have a large number of students from abroad. We have a large number of domestic students. Right now, we mix them without purpose. You could imagine mixing them with purpose to give both sides an enriched educational experience that we call a global experience. The faculty in the disciplines get to define what they mean, but a question will be, if we accept this, what is the global experience your program is providing the students who you give degrees to? All right. Third is that we believe that all students should have a capstone course or a capstone experience. Right, so in the graduate degree programs, that's not a problem. That's called a thesis. Okay? But what would it be? What would it look like at the undergraduate degree level, a capstone experience? Is it a thesis? Is it a research experience? Or could it be something that fits into the other traits that we want, where we bring together a student who is a pre-med with an engineer, with an economist, with somebody in philosophy, and we say to them, somebody wants to build a gold mine in Borneo. Write a white paper on that and have them then work through all of the issues that are associated with health, that are associated with the environment, that are associated with justice, that are associated with the humanity issues that are in there. Okay? Take the themes, write your white paper around that. Demonstrate to us that you can work in teams using your deep disciplinary knowledge and communicate well. All right? Could we build a capstone course like that for all of our students? That's the sort of ideas. Again, this has to come from those who build the curricula, those who educate. It has to come from the faculty. If we say we want to do this, though, then we're saying we will change the way we teach because we believe these are important for us to do. Okay. In order to know what we're doing, we would like to begin to build a campus-wide culture of assessment of learning outcomes. We're talking about, if I teach a course in mass transfer and chemical engineering, what is it I want my students to know? If I teach a course in Stone Age anthropology, what is it I want my students to know? And then at the end of the course, do they know it? How would I know? If I want to teach a course with a standard lecture technique, and somebody wants to use a flipped class or do it simply online, how do I know whether or not the students are learning any better or any worse? All right, so we would like to build a culture where we just ask those questions as a matter of course, and we have the tools that allow us to determine whether or not the students are learning what we think we're teaching. All right? So part of this then would be to develop a think tank for pedagogical innovation. If you as a faculty member want to say, ooh, I'd like to develop a MOOC, or I'd like to develop this online class, or I'd like to do a flipped class, We would like to build a think tank that has professionals and techniques and people that understand assessment and have the resources to help you think about how you develop this new teaching technology. Right? And that's what we mean by a think tank, and we're talking about investing in that. We believe, again, that if we're going to be a residential university and we're going to attract students to us to be here for what is sort of a traditional 4-year experience or a 5-year, sometimes 10-year PhD experience, we should have good co-curricular initiatives. What students do outside the classroom is very important to their education, and that's why they come to UB. Right? So we have to think about building more academies, more undergraduate research, individualized services, and co-curricular transcript where you can have a badge or a stamp on it that says that you've done something besides a traditional sort of degree. All right, engagement. Of this document that came out, that 20 pages, engagement took us the most time. It's an enormously complicated series of issues that show up associated with how UB interfaces with the outside world. It isn't just us, all right? It's the community. We have to worry about government affairs. We have to worry about community affairs. We have to worry about the way we set expectations. All right, so these are very complicated to navigate, and it took us a long time to think about what will UB do in engagement as part of this statement of institutional direction. What we came up with was sort of principles of what we're looking for when we engage. And the key principles are that we think when we get into engagement, it should be about our academic mission. We teach, we do research, and they ought to enhance that. And so we're talking about a principle of engagement should be that our engagement activities should be about creating and exchanging knowledge to tangible benefit. So the tangible is important. It's sort of hands-on. It isn't scholarly articles. It has an impact that you can touch and feel and see in the community. Okay? The benefit means that it helps us and it helps those with whom we're engaging. Okay? Second principle is that if we're going to engage, it should enable excellence in teaching, service, and research. It ought to be about excellence. Okay? So with those principles in mind, all sorts of projects come forward and say, we meet those principles, fund us, work with us, give us resources. Okay? So how do we choose? So we came up with a set of criteria. The criteria that we're talking about now that we would judge that around are we will engage when there's reciprocal benefit. And what we mean by that, this is shorthand for saying that we need to partner. It needs to enhance the community, or our engagement partners, and it needs to enhance UB's mission. There should be enriched learning opportunities. So our students should benefit by having enriched opportunities for learning. There should be new forms of scholarship that develop from our engagement. New ways of thinking, new problems, new solutions should come from their engagement activities, and that if we engage, we need to have community support. Otherwise, we're not partnering. It has to be about a partnership, working for mutual benefit. All right, so what sort of things are we talking about? We think that we have to focus our efforts. If we're going to do it in the community, in Buffalo, we have to focus so that UB can be there for the long haul. We're talking about maybe, possibly, working on the campus border neighborhoods. We're talking about engaging in the P through 20 educational pipeline. Western New York is known for tremendous cultural heritage. What is UB's ability to engage with that cultural infrastructure in order to enhance it and make this an even better place to live? All right? We're talking about engaging globally. How do we engage globally? Why do we engage globally? Right? So how does it fit these criteria and meet these principles? Right, so that's what's in the engagement section. Finally, we get to infrastructure and resources. We can't do all these things without always looking at how to squeeze out costs. All right, a lot of that would be administrative costs. We need operational excellence. We need operational excellence to be a culture. We need to talk about building a customer service mentality. So we need to balance efficiency and effectiveness, but we have to work in a customer service way. We have to have best practices for delivering services. It can't be, well, we didn't invent it, therefore we can't do it. What did somebody else do? Does it work? Great. Let's not reinvent it. Let's just use it. How do we do that? We have to have rigorous performance reviews. this is an essential piece of directions that we're going, is that we want to hold ourselves accountable. We have these great aspirations. How do we know we're getting there? Well, we're going to do A. Well, let's measure how well we're doing in getting to A. And a lot of that's going to have to do with how we do operational excellence, as well as the way we teach and the way we do scholarship. We have to build staff capacity and diversity. As I said, building staff capacity, we're talking about doing performance reviews. We're talking about merit pay program for the professional staff. There's no question that our staff it has to be a diverse group that reflects the community that we're in, and we have to develop programs in order to enhance that diversity. We have to invest in key infrastructure improvements, improve the buildings that we're in, improve the grounds, improve the IT infrastructure on the campus. We need to expand and diversify our revenue streams. You know, we love the state of New York. We love them because they give us a lot of money. But our ambitions are to spend more than the state gives us. And so I'm always looking for new revenue streams. Where can I go to get new revenue to let us do programs that we think are going to lead to excellence and have impact in the community? So we have to figure out how we're going to expand and diversify those sources of revenue. Then what's really important to this entire document is the process that we put in place will align the resource allocation with the UB 2020 priorities. So this goes all the way back to the goals, folks, that we have to start with the goals, what we're trying to do, the strategies we're using to approach those goals, what we're going to do in faculty strength, student success, research strength, and resources are going to flow into the priorities that are written down in UB 2020. All right? That isn't just the growth in funds. This would say, what do we do with the funds we're already spending? How do we realign what I do in the morning when I get up with these priorities that we're talking about? Now, this isn't wholesale change. We already have excellent research programs. We already have excellent engagement. We already have excellent education. It's just re-articulating them and revamping them and then finding where there are gaps and then plugging those gaps with the resources that we currently have and the resources we're going to grow. But it does mean that when we're setting our priorities and where we're going to spend our money, we're going to align the resource allocation according to the UB 2020 priorities. So it's really important, this process we're going through. All right, what are the next steps? The next steps are, the document went out on Friday. I distributed it to the campus. Please go online, leave your messages there, contact the Faculty Liaison Committee, communicate with the Campus Advisory Committee. Bruce McComb, chair of the Campus Advisory Committee, would like to get feedback. We're listening now. We'll read it as it comes in. I've already gotten input to my account. And Bruce is beginning to get input into his. And what we'd like is by May 15th, we're going to publish a statement of institutional direction. That'll be it. Okay? We will have said we are committed to go these directions. Now, that statement will probably be shorter than what you currently are getting. It's going to be pretty high level. All right? And then what will happen is we will kick off the implementation process. By the 15th, a memo is going to go out to the deans, the VPs, the vice provosts, asking for plans and how their plans align with the strategic intentions of the Realizing UB 2020 document. Over the summer, we will develop implementation strategies, come back at the beginning of the fall semester, and we'll begin to execute against those plans. I'm imagining that Realizing UB 2020 and many of the priorities will be set by the time the president gives his State of the University address, and he will gather all of the information that we're delivering to him and that this process is developing, and that will be, he will launch where we're going at his State of the University address. Okay, so I'm now here to hear your thoughts on this, just questions to get us going. Does this plan keep us on a path to excellence? Are there ideas that are not here that should be in the document? What could we include that's more? What do you like about the document and what don't you like? I'd very much like to get your feedback. I'm sorry we're on this short timeline, but the circumstances that we're in drive us to act in this very proactive and shortened manner. So please, I look forward to the conversation we'll have here and any feedback that you want to send me at my provost account or online at the websites that are available.